Hello everyone, this is Flash Hazardous and welcome to an early access first impressions video of Synthetik 2. Before we jump into my thoughts, let's just take a second to appreciate the synthwave music in the title screen. Absolutely love that. Bring the sound down for that a bit. I mean, it's fairly basic music, but there's just something about it that works with a game like this. It's really chunky, very similar to the gunplay, so it just tends to work pretty well. Put the music volume down so we can carry on with the review. So what is Synthetik 2? It's a futuristic twin-stick tactical roguelite shooter from a small German-based developer called Fireflow Games. As far as I know, Synthetik is the only previous game that they've made, and that's the first disclaimer to this video. Is I know there's a ton of fans of Synthetik 1, and they're likely going to love the product that's on offer for the second version in the franchise. But I myself haven't played Synthetik 1 past the tutorial, so you can take me as completely new to the Synthetik franchise. Another thing to note, and it's really important here, is that this is a very early access first impressions video. They've already released a day one patch that's resolved a number of the issues that were prevalent in the game, some really bad performance problems with respect to frame rates. So they are actively developing it. This is very early on. There's a lot of work they've still got to do. So take everything with a grain of salt. We will look at this game again as it progresses through development and hopefully see improvement over that time. So some positives right off the bat. I mean, we spoke about the amazing menu music. One thing I cannot give enough plaudits for is the fact that they've included a huge modding tool in early access. A lot of developers don't typically do modding tools. What Fireflow Games have done, or Flowfire Games have done, is that they have created something called Universe Edit, where almost infinitely configurable modding tool. And this is great because you already see a ton of community content that's that you can install and use, and I think that's great for longevity for a game, and just something that not a lot of developers do. Modding tools are usually an afterthought or something that comes a lot later. It's really refreshing when a studio decides to put that into their early access build, and I think that's great and cannot applaud them enough for that. So let's talk about the menu system, a few of the UI elements and how the menus work. I think this is a perfect example of form over function. I don't think the menus are particularly coherent or useful. If you jump into, for example here, you jump into the universe section, it's meant to be the rule set. I had no idea what that meant before I jumped in, so this is just essentially explaining some of the rules of the game. I think it would have been much better if you explain these concepts or include a lot of these concepts in your tutorial, and there is a tutorial in the game which I think does explain some of the mechanics quite well. But just as an example for the menu elements is, I mean, I can click on defense and you can see there's a grayed out effect that happens. I can then do the same for projectiles and weapons. I don't fully understand. I can click them back and they go back to being this kind of blue hue. A lot of elements of the UI and the menus need polishing and cleaning up. They have acknowledged this and they are working on it, but it's just something worth noting. I don't think the menu and the UI system is particularly great, at least not at this stage. So how does the game work? When you jump into a new game, the first thing you'll encounter is a class menu. The game essentially has different classes, 3 different classes to start. You've got the Grenadier, the Chrono Trooper, the Riot Guard. These are different, obviously, playable characters. Each of these classes has their own abilities. These are all cooldown based, and a set of passives that kind of support the class itself. I think that's quite a good amount of variation to start the game. On top of that, within each class itself, you have different variations. So for example, the Grenadier, you can get the Rocketeer or the Assault Grenadier. You use currency, these unlock tokens that you earn during your runs to be able to unlock these. Again, it's just variations of the base class, but I think it's a very nice addition, and it just allows you to customize your run up front, which I think is great. You can also mix up your starting pistol. So over here, I'm running the P33 Compact. I've already unlocked the heavy pistol, which does a lot of damage. We'll be using that for the purpose of our run. But basically, you can buy different starting guns, although you will pick up weapons as you proceed through the game. The pistol itself will always be something that's part of your kit. So that's quite nice. That's how some of the meta progression works also between runs. Obviously, as you play a class, you increase your specialization level, and that in turn allows you to either unlock different classes, or as you can see, there's a different number of passives that you can unlock. For example, here, if I were to buy the Grenadier Rocketeer, there's a second passive that's only activatable at level 10. So I think that's going to be part of the meta progression of the game as you continue working through it. So next screen is the mission screen. Right now, there's only one campaign, which is the Heart of Armageddon, where you fight against the Machine Legion. I understand there'll be different factions in the main game. For now, we can only play that one. If we click through on that, obviously here's the tutorial, by the way, and you can run that. You should run that to understand some of the core game mechanics. We'll run through those as we go into the game, though, so I'm not going to touch on that right now. So, jumping into the campaign itself, you can see a number of difficulty modifiers. If you want to play the game a bit more like a run-and-gun kind of isometric shooter, you can do that by ticking some of these. If you want a bit more of a relaxed experience, a bit easier, you can click on that as well. Infinitely customizable, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be a feature of the game going forward with the modding tools that they've built in. There's also an escalation, or kind of almost, I think, an ascension system, if you think of Slay the Spire, to make your runs a little bit more difficult. So there's 3 levels of escalation. I've only ever played the base, and I think for the purpose of this video, we'll stick to that, just so I can show you the base game. So let's jump into the game right off the bat, and I can show you some of the mechanics. Right, so we're loading into the game now. And welcome to Synthetik 2. So here's your player character. Obviously, as I said, twin stick shooter. You've got your aiming reticle. You move with WASD keys, as I do on the PC. You'll see the first thing that I want to point out is this mechanic around aiming and shooting. It's not similar to most other. It's not very similar to most other kind of isometric shooters in that there's a high premium on aim. You cannot just run around and shoot. As you can see, my reticle here is really big. If I were to just shoot with this, I'd have no accuracy. So the game actually wants you to stop and shoot. And that's, I guess, part of what they like to call tactical. And we'll talk about reasons why you can't consider this game as tactical, but I think that's a tactical element of this game, is that you have to stand still to shoot if you want any accuracy on your bullets. Okay, so come across an item box. Let's pick that up. It's another part of the core in-game progression as you're going through a run. So we've just unlocked an item. As you can see, that item appears over here. This is an item that activates when an enemy gets close. So you do get 8 item slots, and you can pick up items as you go through your run. A lot of the times, these items are not physically activatable, so I cannot click on any hotkey that gets the item to work. But for example here, this one activates when an enemy gets close. You get other activators, for example, on shot, for example, on reload. Those items will activate on doing specific actions, or in many cases, they will activate on using your class abilities. And let's take a little bit of time here as well to explain those. So this is your core class kit. So I've got an explosive run, for example. That's partly mobility, partly damage if I were to use that. That's what it does damage at the end of its run. It's now on cooldown. So it's a cooldown based system. And you kind of use that, you rotate that. That's the other tactical element of this game, is that you got to manage your cooldowns. And I think that's kind of core to the elements of how you play this game. So let's just run around. You'll see I do a little bit of stutter stepping just to make sure that my bloom for my reticle stops. Go around this corner here. Gun sounds are great. Very, very chunky sounds, chunky shooting. There's a real impact to the shots, and it's an element of the game that I really like. We go back down in here into the corner, find more enemies. Another thing that's interesting is if I aim at the head here, I do hit headshots. It's something that's atypical for games like this. Typical isometric shooters, you don't have headshots, but in this game, they have included it so that if I run into a pack of enemies and I shoot one of the, I guess, the human enemies in the head, like here, that's a headshot, right? And a backstab, right? So there's backstab and headshot mechanics. And I think that's a pretty nice touch. Definitely works. Fun to play. There's a premium on accuracy. And not just running around and spraying. And that's really great. So here we are running up to our first weapons crate. So there is an enormous variety of weapons. Your character can hold up to 3 different weapons, as you can see in the right-hand corner over here. So I just picked up a Kiso nail gun. Ammo seems to be quite plentiful. And yeah, the different items that you get and the different guns you get are a core part of this game and what gives the runs diversity in addition to the items that you pick up. As you can see over here, there's another crate over here. I've just picked up another item, the power array. This one is every 100 shot is a power shot, I think. Yeah, 100 stacks, passively increases the stacks, and then as I kill, further stacks come on, and then on the 100th stack, I get a power shot. Again, it shows that I don't have the ability to completely control when I activate that ability. But, I mean, it's tied to cooldowns, it's tied to ability usage. I think that's pretty cool. It adds a lot of variety of runs, and even though it's not specifically activatable, I still think it's a fun element, and it does definitely work for a game like this. It doesn't make it tactical, but it does make it fun. Onto what I would say is probably my biggest gripe of this game, and I'm going to show this to you here. So, let's kill this guy here. So, how does reloading work in Synthetik 2? Well, very differently to any other isometric top-down shooter that I've seen. So, just jam my gun. Now, let's try and get a reload animation going here. Just kill these guys. There we go. So, we have 1 bullet left in the magazine. The first thing to note with a reload is that when I click to reload, I eject the magazine. So any bullets that are left in the magazine are lost. Okay? So here we go. I eject the magazine. That's 1 click. I have to press the reload button. And then there's an active reload check that you saw there. That if I hit that active reload, which is the 3rd button press, I then get a much faster reload. I've got to be honest. Someone's got to be able to explain to me why this is a good mechanic. I don't see a reason why you should have... I don't see a reason why you should have 3 button presses for a reload. 1, 2, and 3 if you want the active reload in a game like this. In addition, it takes a heck of a lot of time to reload, which I don't like. Not in a game like this. I know it's meant to be more TactiCOOL. Really, all it does in the end is just slow down the gameplay. Alright, so here's another crate. Let's keep walking up into this top corner over here. Oh, there's some enemies down there. Let's go down there. Alright, so let's just do a reload again. Let's see how long this takes. So, kill these guys here. Oh, gun's jammed. Right, so here we go, and reload. Here we go. Get rid of the clip. Now we're gonna get the new clip, place it into the weapon. The 2nd click, and then here's our skill check, and we're ready to go. So, lots of flash, lots of pizzazz. I don't see the functionality or why we should have an active reload system that works this way, but that's just me. If you guys have a reason why, and you can tell me that some abilities activate off of that, I don't see it as a very compelling game mechanic, and I do find it quite irritating to have to press the reload button 3 times in order to get the reload to work. Let's do that again over here. Let's time it this time, actually. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to click the reload button. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and here we go. We're going to do our active skill check, and hit that, and there you go. Ready to go again. That's a good 13 seconds, guys. I can't see a reason why you want to have a reload system that takes 3 clicks. But that's just a bugbear of mine. Please feel free to push back on me in the comments on that one. All right. A couple of things I do like about the game. The visuals are very clean. Clean character models, very clean enemy models, very bright color palette, which I like. It does work for a game like this. And I think it does absolutely does work for a game like this. I really like the visuals of this game. As you said, there's an incredible range of weaponry, so let's use a couple of our abilities here. Just kill those guys using our active. We can walk up to this thing over here. Use another ability there. Let's throw a grenade over here. There we go. So that's me using all my abilities. They're all on cooldown now. It does really add for some fun gameplay, and that's why I think this is going to be a really compelling product at the end of the day once it's fully done, even with some of the more jankier aspects of the game, like reload, which I know is something that's quite core to the franchise. It's always been like this. So, I mean, really, who am I to question it? So, that's one big issue I have with the game. The other one is the AI. I mean, the AI is pretty dumb. And you can see here, they've got no idea where I am. I can just walk around them. There's no... I mean, they don't really coordinate. They don't really attack you from different angles. I mean, this thing over here is just going to stick around and shoot. It doesn't do anything when I get close. Enemy AI is painfully stupid in this game. Now, that's something that they can fix as the game progresses. And I think it's going to be really important. If you're trying to sell a tactical shooter, you need smart enemy AI. If I was to encounter a group of enemies, I want them to use cover. Like here, for example. I mean, they're doing nothing here. One's charging me. The other guy's hanging back. No tactical element. He's just stopped shooting at me. Now he's going to run forward. He's going to stop. There's no smart engagement. I mean, it'd be great if, for example, one enemy comes here, tries to flank me from the side, as another one comes over and flanks from the right, from the left. That doesn't happen in this game. And I think core part of what will make this game great is how well they get the AI to work at the end of the day. And that brings me to kind of this design choice around this design philosophy, let's say. They want this game to be tactical, but yet they give you no tactical tools with which to play. So I'll accept you have a set of cooldowns you need to manage. You obviously have this convoluted reload system, which is meant to add to the tactical elements of the play, which doesn't work, as I've explained earlier. At least that's my opinion. But on top of that, you got a dumb enemy AI. So they're not engaging you from different angles. They're not doing anything over here. I'm just going to run in here. I'm going to kill exactly all of them just by exploding with at the end of my run with that. There are no tactical elements to this. So what is the tactical play here that I'm not seeing? If they wanted to make this a tactical game, they have to give me tactical tools. There's no cover-based mechanic, right? And oftentimes cover's not all that reliable. Sometimes you'll be standing behind cover and they'll still shoot you. They do things like include fully destructible environments in terms of cover. So, I mean, environments are destructible in this game, but I don't see the point. What's the point of destructible environments like here? Let me just find something that is destructible as I'm talking about it. So here's a bunch of crates here. So that piece of cover has been destroyed. But when am I ever incentivized to use cover without any sort of a cover-based mechanic? So what is the objective of making these destructible environments if you're not ultimately able to use them tactically? The other thing that is definitely a weakness is the map design. It's usually quite large, sprawling rooms. If you want to make me play tactically, give me a couple of different combat scenarios. Maybe make a couple of rooms that are slightly different, maybe more corridor-based. Make enemies a bit smarter so they attack you from different angles. That adds to the tactical play, and there is no tactical play in this game at the moment. What else can I say about that? I mean, the most effective tactic in this game is effectively just to kite your enemies. Kite and shoot your enemies. And I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound very tactical to me. Also, the other thing that's an issue is that since all of the items are sometimes on shot, sometimes on a specific condition when an enemy gets close, like for example with this auto taser, I can't physically activate any ability outside of my core skills, right? Again, how do you expect the game to be tactical if even the items that I get are kind of activated at a random point in time, or when I use a specific ability? Sure, I have a little bit of control over it, but that is far from being tactical, and more, as I would say, TactiCOOL. It wants to give you the illusion of it being tactical whilst not really being tactical at its heart. Other thing before we jump, let's just jump into the next area as we're talking about this. Oh, here's another item, by the way. Actually, that's another thing. A lot of the times in this game, the item drops, the things that drop on the ground, things like ammo, things like health, they often get obscured by, I guess, the debris from either dead corpses or dead enemies. It would be quite nice if they made those icons a little bit bigger, and also if they included some sort of a radius around your player where he would suck in specific items that drop on the ground. Because oftentimes you'll just completely run past those, and those end up being some of your items that you need, like money or like weapon parts, which we'll talk about. So if they just make those a bit more visible, it would help quite a bit in making sure that you pick those items up and don't just leave them on the ground. So how do the maps break down? You get 3 different maps, and then you have a boss. I think you get 3 different areas, then a boss. I think you do this 3 times over, and then at that point you fight a final boss. I've not reached the final boss just yet, but just kill this guy. Oh, we're getting shot here. Very lucky not to have been blown up over there. Very lucky not to have been blown up over there. So the way health works in this game is you get 1,200 in shields and 3,000 in health. The shields are replenishable, but obviously your health isn't. And you obviously can get health pickups, so health doesn't end up being a massive issue. But you do tend to die quite quickly in this game if you get caught out of position, or if they end up like that, nuking you a couple of times into your health. Another thing that I'd say is a bit of a weakness for this game. The auto map. Now, if they're aiming to include a bit of like a scaled map in here, I think something like this makes sense. But in its current iteration, all this map does is tell you where certain crates are once you've walked past them. So, given the maps are so big and sprawling, I don't find this a particularly useful mini-map. And I think the game could definitely benefit from having a scaled little map in place, which can help you navigate the otherwise large and sprawling maps that this game pitches at you. Okay. Let's just play this a bit more. Right, so here we go. We're running into our first... Ooh, get rid of this guy. Right. So, here's our first upgrade station. So you get these dispersed everywhere across the map. Another... There you go, by the way. That corpse of a machine over there had money in it, but because the corpse was over it and I couldn't see it, I could have completely missed that. They can make it a bit bigger, or they can make sure that there's a bit of a pull area on the player, as I said. So, here's the first shop. You're able to pick, I guess, a perk. So it's a tinkerer shop. There's various types of shots. Some of them end up increasing your abilities. Some of them end up, or bettering your abilities. Some of them end up bettering your items. Other are just flat perks, like in this case. So, for example, this affects my currently held weapon, reduces the burst fire delay. I must use the burst fire mode. Here's another one which removes my critical hit chance for a chance of scavenging more items. And the last one just increases my weapon damage, which I'll end up taking here for my pistol. Oh, I ended up taking it for the case or nail gun, unfortunately. That doesn't really matter. But there's a number of those there, and that's what the currency is used for. So you get gold, which you can use at these upgrade stations to better your character. Take this guy out as we're talking through it. And then what you also have is weapon parts. So weapon parts you pick up from dead enemies, and what weapon parts are, you can almost immediately use them. So over here, I can just take out my heavy pistol, and I can buy an attachment for 50 weapon parts. See what they look like. Here's a reload assister, increases the fire rate, but it's only on reload. We've got something that increases the fire rates based on shields, and finally something that increases weapon damage and heat. Heat is a mechanic that's there that ends up jamming your weapon, or at least stopping you from using a weapon. But I do like the increased critical hit chance, so we'll pick that one up. But that's how weapon upgrades work. So I can do that again, as I can pick up 4 different upgrades per weapon. I think it's obviously like a grip, there's a magazine, and then whatever that is, some sort of a heat mechanism within the weapon. So let's just buy another one. This one reduces movement speed for better aim. This one increases weak point damage and weapon heat. And this one is on active reload. Let's get more weapon heat on. Increase weak point damage. There we go. Picked up more weapon parts over there. Again, we can use it again. I'm not going to do it right now, but actually I will just fully upgrade it. So again, there's a magazine attachment. Wormhole mags, 35% on weak point hit to regain ammo back into the magazine. That's nice because we've got already some weak point hit modifiers on our weapon. Each time a weak point hit gains 1 charge. At 10 charges, you grant 100 healing, which is nice. Some passive healing as you play through the game. And if your health is full, you increase your critical damage by 75%. Let's pick up that one. That one's quite useful because you can stay at high health quite often if you play quite carefully in this game. Right, so that was our first shop. Just run around, see if we find anything else. Use our ability here. Throw a grenade there. Take that guy out. There we go. But definitely action-packed, a heck of a lot of fun. Oh, over here, I thought that was going to be a healing crate, but it does also replenish your charges. 20. Ooh. There we go. Terror level increased. I don't know exactly what that means, but I think it relates to essentially making your enemies a bit tougher. Get rid of that guy. There's some healing, and now we should be doing extra critical hit damage with our heavy pistol. Some of the other things that are a little bit annoying, I think the movement speed of the player is a little bit slow. This was a lot worse prior to the day 1 patch. It is a little bit better now, but I still think they can afford to give a little bit more speed to the player character. The problem with doing that, of course, is that in a game like this, where you can just infinitely kite your enemies, the faster your player character is, the easier it is for him just to walk away from any sort of damage that comes his way. And again, as much as they want that to be tactical, it's not really, right? We've talked about why this game's not really tactical. So they've got a bit of a dilemma there. Increase the player speed and make it a lot easier for people to just ultimately kite. Like, you see over there, the AI? I mean, what was he doing there? I was within proximity. It just sat there. It did nothing but sit there. So definitely AI improvements are needed. There we go. Another headshot there. That's satisfying. And headshots are satisfying in this game. Another thing that's interesting is that... Oh, enemies? No more. Pick up another item. Mavericks. Triggers on weapon shots. Chance to fire dumbfire missiles. Deals explosive damage. Okay. Get rid of the dog. Most of the times, the way you end up dying in this game is by being overwhelmed by enemies. Overwhelmed by enemies, in particular, like a mix of melee and severe range damage enemies, which is Again, you're quite squishy no matter how much health and how much shields you've got. So it's the way they balance it out. You've got to play very carefully. You can't just run into a room and gun people down, otherwise you will get shot. Take rid of that guy. Again, no awareness of me being behind him. AI needs a significant amount of work. Right, so here's another weapons crate. This means we pick up the third weapon, which is a SMG. Oh, I hear a dog. There we go. Pick up some gold there. All right. See how I have to stutter step in order to make sure that the weapon always ends up hitting. Reload there. This. Stutter, 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 stutter step. And that's how you end up getting the accuracy that you need in the game in order to defeat your enemy. So here's another weapon upgrade station. I think this one uses money. There you go. So this essentially upgrades one of your items. So for example, let's pick out the auto taser. Extension plus grants selected item 40% increased buffs. Positive status effects duration only applies to buffs which appear in the buff bar. Testing also increases general item outcome durations. Increases base effect power of an item by 100%. Might be quite nice for the taser. And reduces charge of a selected item by 1, but gains 40% faster cooldown speed. Using on items 1 or no charges will disable the item. I know right now a lot of the items are bugged and not working as intended, but I'm pretty sure that's going to get ironed out as the game progresses. So let's pick up the item overdrive. Now we upgraded that auto taser, got a better effect on it, and that's how the progression works in a run, basically. So taking care of that. Get rid of the dog over here. Great. Another little bugbear as I reload again. Another bugbear over here is with the shops. The UI just pops up as you're walking past it. Now, I've had this in a game where I was shooting an enemy on the right-hand side, and I ran in and I accidentally ended up picking up an item just because of that. I think that's pretty annoying, and there's no reason why this simply can't be something that's activatable, that I just run up to and press the action key or E or something like that, and then it allows me to kind of use it. So another little UI bug over there that bothers me. If we're talking about UIs, jumping into the menu again, the example or the point that I was making earlier about it being more about form of a function. You've got 3 different menus here. There's absolutely no reason why this entire menu system couldn't be condensed into one screen. You've got the massive player character model there, which you don't really need. Class, upgrades, and weapons should really all be on one screen with the right tooltip information against them. I think it's a little bit of a miss to have that across 3 screens and unnecessarily clunky for no real benefit. Okay, let's pick up another item over here. Picked up a secondary power array, so you can pick up multiples of an item. Again, there was an enemy here I wasn't aware of at all, just because it was sitting there and doing nothing. Another thing that I think would be quite useful for this game is if... It would be nice if you could extend your reticle even further out slightly. I know it already does that a bit, but I think the cone around the player, so if I go all the way to the top right of the screen, it would be nice if that kind of adjusted the position of my player a bit more further back so I can see more of the screen. I find that a bit of an issue running downwards, especially sometimes I run into enemies and get too close just because I didn't see them. And as you can see, your weapon does level up in your run as you're going through. That does reset at the end of a run. And that's just another form of in-game progression. So I don't particularly know what upgrading weapons does at the moment, or whether it does anything. The only thing, well, in terms of at least the experience upgrades that you get, obviously you can keep on buying attachments, and let's do that again over here. So we've got a short spring magazine, increases my magazine size by 25%. That's quite nice for that weapon. Changes the weapon to rapid fire twin burst. I don't think that'll work for the heavy pistol because it does lose a lot of accuracy. And then ammo infusion increases effect power by 40%, increases duration by 10%. What is the effect of my pistol? High damage output, low magazine size. Okay, let's just go with the short magazine spring. It should give us extra ammo. 8. Oh, wasn't that much, was it? 2020 damage. All right. There we go. Reload the weapon. Reload this weapon. Lose the ammo, unfortunately, but hey. Ammo's never really much of a problem. Ammo scarcity is not much of a problem. Again, here, notice how small these pickups are. Would really benefit from being a bit bigger in size. Right, take this guy out. Another thing to note here, they've got these little plates. So what these plates do is just another form of armor. So once things chew through your shields, you have one charge of plates there, which takes one hit before it starts chunking into your health. Just another way to manage your health with this game. And nice system, I think. There we go. Kill that guy. There we go. And we're at the exit of the second area. I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to say about this game. I think we're at a square 36 minutes now, which is a good length for the video. I hope you liked it. Overall thoughts on the game. I wouldn't say it's an instant recommend just at the moment. I think there's a fair amount of work that needs to go into this game still before it's worthy of a recommendation. But what I will say, it's got an incredible amount of potential. Great things that the developers have done around having a modding tool at the start. Obviously, there's a formula here that works with Synthetik 1, which was a fairly successful game. And I think in time, this will end up being an absolute gem of a title. I just don't think it's quite there yet. So maybe give it a couple of months, couple of weeks and months, unless you really want to be part of the process and help the devs out. I think this will be a worthy title in a couple of months' time. And what we will do is we'll revisit this over the course of the next couple of months and see how it's developing as we go through this early access period. So thank you for watching this video. You've been listening to me, Flash Hazardous. If you do agree with my points, if you disagree with my points, please do leave them down in the comments box. If you like the video, please press the thumbs up and subscribe. We do try and do quite a bit of early access and let's play content on this channel. So yeah, please do let me know. Give me some tips, pointers if you don't like the format of the video. But other than that, this has been Flash Hazardous. Thank you for joining me. This has been Synthetik 2, and we'll see you very soon in the next video.